Hey guys, this is actually a pretty short video today. This is not going to be a guide. This is not going to be a, I guess, gameplay even. I'm going to have some gameplay showing, but I'm not really going to be talking about what's going on in the game whatsoever. This is actually going to be a bit of a rant video. I've never really done one of these, but I'm going to go through why I'm really struggling with TFT this patch, and realistically actually since the mid-set update as well. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Please interact with me on this one, because it's something that I think a lot of people might feel, but don't really know how to articulate it. Thanks to G2A for sponsoring the channel. There is a reference link in the description below. I spent probably the best part of 3 to 4 hours this morning trying to record a video on a build guide. And one of the things that my channel does is I attempt to take good builds in the meta and make them simple and kind of walk you through them so that anybody at any elo can try and emulate it and play it, as well as try to teach you some fundamentals about the game so that you can improve as a whole. I can't tell you the number of people that have come to me and said, thank you so much for your videos. You know, I feel like with the information I've been able to get Diamond, Master, Platinum, whatever you've got, whatever milestone you've hit, I feel really proud to have been part of that. But I've been struggling this week, especially since the last patch, 10.13. I've been struggling since the mid-set update, realistically. I like a meta where there's lots of builds to try out. And though I might not necessarily be able to climb very high on the ladder, I really like to be able to just constantly challenge myself and create like new guides for builds so that everybody else can have a go at those builds as well. And that was okay when the mid-set update came out, because there was lots of new units to talk about and lots of new units to think about. But it slowly got worse and worse, and this is probably one of the worst metas we have ever had in TFT, and I'm even going beyond when we had the Blender Nocturne meta in set 2. There are 3 compositions that you can play, and if you're playing at high elo, you probably are going to see this a lot. 6 Cybernetic, Jinx comps, which is usually Blaster Brawler or Rebels, and 6 Sork Riven. There is a decent number of mech players, but it's never going to get you higher than top 3 unless you really high roll it. The meta is in an awful, awful place. Like, there are very few comps that can do well. And look, realistically, there's probably people that will say, well, look, I'm playing Vanguard Mystic and it still works. Yeah, sure, you can play whatever you like if you high roll it, realistically. But for consistency, there are 3 comps that most people are playing with: Rebels, or Jinx comps in generals, 6 Sork Riven, and Cybers. And that sucks. That really sucks, because I have been into so many games where the lobby has been won because someone high-rolled a Jinx at level 6 or even level 5 sometimes, and then they just snowballed the game. And if you don't high-roll this meta, you might as well just pack in. Because if you have to roll your economy, there's no real comeback mechanic. Because it's all comp-based. And it's all, like, there are very few units that you can build your comps around. And that's been a problem for me since the beginning of set 3.5. I loved 3.5 initially because all the new units came out. But let's talk about those new units. Gnar is cool, Astro is cool, but it's very difficult to fit those in as a whole. Astro Sniper got weaker because of the nerfs to all of the Astro units, and Jin I just don't think is a particularly good unit in the current meta. He just doesn't deal his DPS quick enough, and he's very, very item reliant. The battle cast. Honestly, one of the most uninspired synergies I have ever seen in any auto battler. Any synergy that revolves around flat damage or healing and dealing such is a bad synergy. And the reason it is a bad synergy is because A, it's not very interesting, and B, it's very hard to balance. When you are dealing with flat numbers like Battlecast, either it's going to be very OP or it's going to be really bad. And especially because Battlecast takes up such a huge number of synergies. So, you know, it's a 6-unit synergy. There are 6 units that are Battlecast. Like, Battlecast should be, just because it basically occupies so much design space, it should be a good build. Like, Battlecast, you know, you would want to be able to play 6 Battlecast as a viable way to play the game. But you can't. Because Battlecast is a very poorly thought out trait. The problem with it is that if you buff it too much, it's just going to be ridiculously strong. And if you don't buff it enough, and that's the case that it is in right now, it just isn't a good build. I've seen people say, well, yeah, you can play it as a mid-game build, but then the mid-game doesn't really get you much these days. If someone hits a Jinx 2, that's it. They're going to get top 4 most of the time. I really liked set 3 because there were units like Kayle. You know, if I was having a game where I was just playing a load of random stuff and didn't really know where to go, I was kind of just running with whatever I high rolled. You know, then I hit a Kayle. That's it. That's a unit that I can play around. I can build my items around that unit. My composition becomes a little bit more online, and it's good. And the hyper roll comps, no matter how much you hated them, they offered another avenue to play the game where you didn't have to rely on getting good natural rolls. You could sacrifice your economy to actually hit something that powered up on stage 3. Now, if you sacrifice your economy and you don't hit Jinx, or you don't hit some 2-star upgrades, that's it. You're done. You might as well just pack up. And that's the problem. There is no decision making around economy anymore. There's no decision making around sacrificing economy for gain because it's too RNG reliant at this point in time. You know, people complained about the hyper roll builds because they were too strong, but now the hyper roll builds don't exist, and we have nothing that can counter people or even put pressure on people who just high roll naturally in stage 3. You know, I'm not even mad about it. Well, I am mad about it, but I'm not even ashamed to say it. I've demoted to Diamond because this morning I tried to play 4 or 5 games. I got 7th 3 times and then 6th because I just couldn't hit the Jinx. And when I played Cybers, it took me too long to get the 2-star vein, so I just didn't have a good enough mid game. And then when I tried to play Sorcerers, if you don't natural a Riven 2 very early on, or if you don't hit the full mech in stage 3, you might as well just say goodbye as well because you're just getting battered. Now, obviously, this patch is going to come to a close in a week's time or so, but I think we desperately need some hotfixes. You know, I can't find a build where I'm saying I can go into a game and say this beats Jinx or this is comfortable against Cybers. And I'm honestly really struggling. I'm really struggling to play. I'm really struggling to find the motivation to get into a game. This is the most unhappy I've been with TFT since the game actually started. And that's been really hard for me to deal with because I love the game and I love making content for it. But like, my YouTube channel revolves around talking about builds. There's only so many times you guys can see me play Jinx before you get bored of it. It's like, how many times can I phrase a YouTube channel title to say, wow, Jinx is OP? And they even nerfed her on the last patch. It's just because they made everything else so bloody bad. I think, for me, TFT is the healthiest when you have individual units that you can play around. You know, set 1 was really healthy, I think, because the people were able to play around Draven as an individual unit, and then you build your compositions around him. Kayle was the same. You didn't need many units to make Kayle good. Like, you didn't need many units to be like, oh, okay, right, like Kayle, we need like 7 different units to make Kayle work. No, you could make Kayle work with 3 extra units, a Valkyrie and 2 Blade Masters, and then you could build whatever else you wanted with her as long as you had the right items. And even if you didn't have the right items, Kayle was flexible. And that's what I liked, because it allowed you to be much more flexible with where your build was going to go in the mid game. Right now, it's like, if you're not playing Jinx, you're probably not top 4ing, because everybody's playing Jinx. It's so difficult to find it. So the game rewards the people who just naturally get Jinx, or rewards the people that roll down. But everybody rolls down now because they have to. That's the problem. Everybody rolls down for Jinx because they need that unit to actually win. So I've just been frustrated. I mean, I didn't want to make this, like I said, I didn't really want to make this a very long video, and I probably won't make it much longer than this. But it's something that I've been really struggling with this patch. It's something that I found really difficult to deal with. And it's also just really ruined my motivation, and I felt bad at I felt really crap at the game. Like, I've just felt like I'm a really bad player. And that's really affected the way that I'm actually approaching my play. I'm actually just losing games because I'm just not I'm not figuring out in my head what to do. This game here, like, there's a point where I cycle through. I'll try and show you. There's a point where I cycle through the top 7 players. 4 of them are Jinx players. 1 is a Cyber, and 2 are Sorcerer with Riven. So that pretty much, and this is a Master High Diamond lobby. That pretty much tells you everything that you need to know about the game right now. Yeah, that's my question to you guys. Is this the worst TFT patch we've ever had? And how has it affected your enjoyment of the game? I wonder if I'm wondering if the stats in terms of win rates reflect it, and whether Mort is going to actively try and do something about it. But personally, I feel like the Battlecast trait needs a complete rework. I'm just not excited about it. It's not a trait that I actively look to play in a game because it just feels useless. Like 2 Battlecast, who the hell is going to tech 2 Battlecast? That's like 80 damage falls off the face of the planet even in stage 3. So what's the point? Yeah, it just doesn't feel like a very... I feel like the whole Battlecast trait needs a rework, to be honest with you. It needs to be something that can fit into other builds and be more useful overall. Tell me what you guys think anyway. Tell me what you guys think. Sorry about the rant video today, guys. It's just, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with the game. Struggling with Burnout in general, but I'm struggling with the game. Yeah, hope you guys are good, and I'll speak to you soon.